Hi everyone, and welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. So I just wanted to go over some competitive analysis. It seems there are still a lot of people who think there is plenty of competition on the way, even from the incumbent automakers. So I thought we could compare them together with some basic metrics used to measure EVs. Range, performance, 0 to 60 miles an hour, and price. I have all the latest Tesla model specifications ready to compare with the competition. So let's begin. So I thought we could start with Lucid. Now, these were the first manufacturers to announce a 500 mile an hour plus range for an EV. And they had 503 miles, which is huge. It would be the highest range EV today. Soon after they did that, Tesla then announced their Model Plaid specifications with 520 miles of range. And the Model Plaid is 138,000. The Lucid Dream is 161,000. So Tesla has the higher range and the cheaper price, and most likely a better performance to go with it too. You see, because Lucid was spending so much money on their cars, they could afford better quality batteries with lower densities, and they can increase their specifications from the car just by throwing money at it, essentially. So they are able to achieve that. Also, Lucid don't seem to mention their performance figures. I couldn't find them, which means that they probably don't have similar performance to Tesla, and that the motors are tuned more for range rather than performance. Because if you look at the Model S performance, it actually has less range than the long range, even though it's more expensive and is significantly more power. It has less range, so you can tune the car or the motor to be increased for performance or range. And I would guess that Lucid here have tuned this for range only, mainly, whereas the Plaid is more tuned for performance, yet still achieves 520 mile range. Okay. They also have a cheaper model, the Air Pure, and this only starts at 69,000, which would be a fair comparison to the Model S Long Range Plus, and similar range too for the money. Then, but you have to remember, the Model S isn't really Tesla's model they care about too much. This was something they made a long time ago, and they're just keeping it, really. They're not improving it much. They haven't even moved to the 2170 batteries. So when we compare with the Model S, it's not really a fair comparison of where Tesla is at today, although I admit the Plaid will use the new battery technology, so that is slightly different. But then again, you can see what difference it makes when they start using the latest technology. Then we have Rivian. So Rivian is partly owned by Amazon and Ford as well, and they have a pickup truck and an SUV. So again, there weren't any performance figures I could find, so I assume that they have tuned the cars for range rather than performance, which would make more sense for an SUV and a pickup truck. And they come with 300 miles range, or over 300 miles range, both of them. And for an extra $10,000, you can get an extra 100 miles as well. So with 300 miles, the SUV, so we can compare this to the Model X, perhaps. And at 70,000, what do we get for the Model X? So we get the Model X, this was long range. We get 78,000, we get 371 miles range. So for $8,000 more, we get 371 miles range. So that is comparable. But again, Model X isn't really the latest in the Tesla technology, so it's not a great comparison. NIO. Everyone knows NIO now, as they seem to be the number 2 EV car, catching up to Tesla supposedly. Now, what they have is a 380 mile range, but that is NEDC, which stands for basically not even damn close. So in reality, it's probably closer to 320, let's say. And 0 to 104.7, not too bad. And $52,000. So this $52,000 is what it costs in China. So let's compare that to Tesla. So remember, this is an SUV, so let's compare it to the Model Y. And we have Model Y, we have 326 mile range, probably about the same, and 4.8 to 100, about the same, to 60, sorry. And the price is $48,490. So that's comparable, it's not too far off. So these are the electric vehicle competitors. Let's see what the legacy automakers can do. So we have the Audi e-tron. So this is an SUV, probably similar-ish to the Model Y, and it starts at $65,995, goes 0 to 105.5, with a range of only 222. Let's compare that with the Tesla. Model Y, okay, so it's more expensive even than the Model Y Performance, and it's just not coming close to competing, really. The BMW i3, I'm not really sure why I put this in here. It's pretty old anyway, but you get minimal range, and it's still quite expensive, and it's just a hatchback. Now the Polestar, when this came out, it was supposed to be a big deal, and that Volvo were creating an electric car company. But when it came out, we get 233 miles range, not great performance, and it's really expensive. So let's compare this to a $60,000 Tesla. You're into Model S price, really, but it's really Model 3 it should be at. So the Tesla's just significantly cheaper and better. So not even close. All right, now the Volkswagen ID3. Now everyone thought this was supposed to be successful, and they still think it is beating Tesla in Europe, and this is going to be the future. And okay, you can understand that. I mean, it's made in Europe though, and hatchbacks are more popular in Europe, and people like Volkswagen. So maybe it will be successful. Let's see anyway. Let's just have a quick comparison. So performance-wise, 7.3, that's really slow. 264, so what price range? We're at 41,250. So we're in between the Model 3 long range and standard range, and the 264 range. So it's not brilliant. And again, this is obviously being tuned for long range, judging by the performance. So 7.3, and Tesla's going to be 4.2. It's a bit of a joke. So that's 34,000 euros, which only sells in Europe at the moment. So you can't buy them in America, but the equivalent American price is 41,250. Now, I do believe that this is less than a standard Model 3 in Europe, so it is a bit cheaper, but you don't have the specs. And everyone's favourite, the Porsche. So Porsche decided to try and compete with Tesla, and this is what they came up with. They have these prices the wrong way around. So you have the Taycan entry level, and you've got about 200 miles of range and 0 to 100 in 3.8 seconds. And that will cost you $100,000. So that is over Model S performance price, and you almost have twice the range. But then if you want to spend even more money, a lot more money, you can get the Taycan Turbo S. Similar range, but performance is improved, and the price is $185,000. And that performance, well, it's still not even close to the Model S at half the price, let alone the range. And then if we compare it again to the Plaid, then just forget about it. This is an insanely expensive car, and the specifications are just so far from what Tesla is. It's unbelievable. But they have a feature where you can continually launch it again and again, like 30 times in a row, and it will keep going as fast each time, just about. Whereas the Tesla would eventually, it would get a bit slower every time. But I do believe Tesla has actually improved on that a little bit since then anyway. So we don't even know if Volkswagen or Porsche, for that matter, are even making a profit on any of these cars. They've just put prices in. They're not selling a great deal of these cars, so it's not going to be a big money maker to them if they did have a profit. So at a guess, I would say they're just trying to find a price point just so they can test the market more or less and have their plant some seeds of electric vehicles in the industry. But we don't know if they're even making profits on these numbers. Porsche, you would hope they're making a profit, but Volkswagen, it might be a bit slim on the ID3. Yeah, so Hyundai is another one. And they actually have reasonably priced EVs. So you can have the SUV from starting at $37,000, and this compares to the Model Y, which currently starts at $48,000. There will be a new Model Y coming out eventually, I assume a standard range plus model, and that will be priced at around $41,000 perhaps. So it's not far off. It's a similar price range, but you're going to be having more range. And again, this is a low-cost EV. You've only have 170 mile range, but in reality, that's enough for most people, really, for most of their commuting. It's rare that they would need to go further than that before charging. And $33,000 is pretty good value. Now, again, these must be tuned only for long range because there's probably no performance in them. So it's a good price point. But, there's a difference between a Tesla and a Hyundai, and a Tesla and a Porsche, and all these other cars. For a start, Teslas come almost fully loaded. You get all these extras. It's just all automated with the software. Whereas for Porsche, you got to pay, I'm not joking, probably in the vicinity of almost $50,000 to get all the extras that Tesla has with them. Maybe not quite that much, but it's a lot of money. And this number really, if you want to compete accurately with Tesla, with including features, then it's got to be well over $200,000. Again, the Hyundai, it's not going to be up there with the Tesla, nor the Volkswagen. I mean, Audis are a fairly luxury car, and they do come higher specification, and they might be in some areas. Maybe some people prefer that the seats are more comfortable, or all these sorts of things. It's possible, but overall value for money, it's not going to be the same as the Tesla. Now, we call these competitors, but in reality, they're just other companies that also happen to make electric vehicles. They haven't taken away from any of Tesla's customers, as Tesla still can't make enough cars to keep up with their demand. So the EV market is still only 2% of total auto sales. So that leaves 98% of the internal combustion automakers to compete with. Why would you bother competing with each other in the small EV industry? Internal combustion is Tesla's competition, and they're gaining on them. Thanks everyone, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the thumbs up.